Welcome to Thrones and Scones. It's your weekday morning podcast where we talk about Game of Thrones over breakfast. Not always on a Friday, but you know what? When we can find one, I appreciated it. And here we are to end out Season 5 with Episode 10, Mother's Mercy. Which, I mean, you guys ever beg for Mother's Mercy back in the day? You're like, oh, please, Mother, have mercy on me. Just make me walk naked through the streets. Don't ground me.
Throw some stool on me.
Do you guys have that? Do you remember that? Those were the days, right?
Those were the days.
Oh. Well, it's a busy episode, a busy finale. Would you guys like a little plot action?
Please.
To recap? I can do that for you. It's another short one today. Very short sentences and not too terribly many of them. But if you have somebody who you would like a short and sweet impression of, I can give it my worst attempt.
Pee Wee Herman. Did we do that one yet?
Oh, God.
We have not.
You can pull it.
Never watched Pee Wee's Playhouse. Is that what it was called? Pee Wee's Perv House? Pee Wee's... I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I think it was fondly known as Pee Wee's Perv House.
Pee Wee's Perv House. But I know the... right? That's Pee Wee, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the word of the day, I'll just let you know ahead of the time, is forgiveness. Stannis marches. Danny surrounded by strangers, and Cersei seeks forgiveness. Jon is challenged.
There's a little bit of Yoda in there.
Oh. Recap. Yeah, I don't. That's the thing. Once you really figure it out, and you're getting to the deep nitty gritty right now. I have 4 impressions, and then they just kind of all branch off into what pretends to be other things.
That's funny. That's a good. We actually have to. We haven't done Yoda yet.
Oh, well, no, it's true. It's true. Yoda, respect.
Respect.
Yoda, not in this episode. I kind of thought he'd make an appearance. I don't actually think we've gotten a single Star Wars crossover, which surprising.
Disappointing, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I actually had the discussion the other day with some friends, like, what if the big twist in the final season is that Westeros gets invaded by aliens? And it's like the first real sci-fi fantasy clash of epic proportions like that. If you want to hear more about that, you can go check out Damage Control Podcasting, episode 56. And we discussed that at length. Do you guys like when I just use our screen time to plug other people's screen time?
I love it.
It's cool. It's cool.
Episode 56, so they've only been around a couple months then?
We also discussed that about how we're about ready to eclipse them, or we have almost at this point, and they've been doing this for like 2 years. We've been doing this for 2 months.
Fools, we crushed you.
Doesn't it? In retrospect, it was a really healthy decision to do a daily podcast, was it not?
No. I can see why there's not that many daily podcasts.
Oh, well, we understand. I mean, it's really given us insight into how the world works, into how serial killers are created, into how the deepest despairs can seep into every aspect of your daily activity.
Psychotic outbreak, you know all those
Exactly. Things. So it's been a good scientific discovery, for me at least.
PTSD is for real.
For real, indeed.
For real.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-throne stress disorder.
Post-thrones.
Mother's Mercy. Have mercy, Mother. What did you guys think about this episode? As I said yesterday, and I'll go ahead and reiterate this bodacious claim, braggadocious, that's the word. It's a very sexy claim. That this is the best season finale I think we've got so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyone want to toe to toe with me? Contest that?
No, I think that's astute.
Do you? So you think? So
my grandma's name was Astute.
We often talk that 9 and 10 in the episode or in the seasons almost feel like a total season episode, right? Like 9 and 10 are together the end. Would you argue that 9 and 10 of this season is better than the prior?
Let me go see what was 9 and 10 of season 4. Watchers on the Wall and The Children. 10 for sure. Watchers on the Wall was a pretty great episode.
Pretty great episode, I know. So then, like, and I always feel like 9 is kind of like is like the bomb that explodes, and then 10 is the aftermath. And I feel like this time it was more like there was 2 bombs, if you will.
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and agree with that. And even in this season, episode 8, I mean, Hard Home was a big episode too.
Yeah.
I would say maybe even bigger than episode
Yes.
9, which, I mean, did have the games and the whole Stannis thing, but also kind of slow. And
Kind of slowed down a little bit. Yeah.
It did slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say the end of this season has been really rewarding because, let's be honest, 6, maybe even 7 and down, not the good times.
No. Not the good times at all.
Not the good time. And even in this finale, I mean, like, there are some parts where I was just like, oh, thank God we're moving past this part now. You know, I mean, some good things. I think we should go and start there. You know, finally, I enjoyed Arya's story a little bit. Like, I was really bored with the whole House of Black and White. And it's funny because Jaqen is such a badass, and we enjoyed them and their character development back when Arya was at... Oh, I can never think of the name of that castle. Harrenhal, yeah. And then... So that was really good. I like the story with Dany, where it's going. We saw her ride on that super CG dragon. Awesome. And
that was last episode.
Yeah, no. I'm saying we saw that, and then I like that, you know, in this episode she meets the Dothraki Blood Riders again, which she looks thrilled.
Yeah, well, very different Blood Riders at this point. You know, different Khalasar. Not a great reunion for her.
Yeah,
potentially,
exactly.
And she gets a little scared by
So
that.
do you think she took the ring off because she was trying to, like, hey, find me, or because by her being wed that they would murder and rape her? Like, I was confused by that.
I don't think that was a wedding ring. Yeah, I think it was a hey, find me.
Okay, all right. I wondered about that.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, it's tall grass, and she just drops a ring in the middle of the field.
Yeah,
There's no
there
way
is
that
no
works.
way anyone's finding that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
Well, you know, we have all those great detectives in the Stark family, so we'll be fine.
Indeed. So if they can find a Stark in Essos, they'll be golden. Drogon, in this episode, we see him, you know, tired, exhausted. He looks beat up. He's got some arrow holes through his wings and everything, some spear wounds. And then also very cat-like behavior from Drogon, which I kind of loved. Him, like, you know, moving and squirming to get Dany off, and then him just like curling up and
Like, away, woman, away.
Exactly. I respect Drogon a little bit more now that he's got that catness to him. Drogon or Sir Pounce, who do you think would win in a fight?
Sir Pounce, bitches.
Who you betting on? Yeah, I'm just gonna say we know what Drogon can do. We have no idea what Sir Pounce.
No, we haven't seen it.
He's the Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can cut sexual tension. That is so far the only skill that we've seen from him. But he could be holding so much more. We don't know. To the Arya thing real quick. I do like it. She kills Meryn Trant. Must have a very, very specifically small knife because she stabs him an awful lot in an awful lot of very dangerous places. And that dude is up for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
that was
blows both orbits.
Pretty brutal death.
Yeah. It was brutal. She is very much not no one, and she is punished for that. This is where we really get to, you know, you kind of go to the House of Black and White and you're like, ooh, this is so mystical, this is so crazy. And then you start to see things and you're like, oh, no, I see. I understand. It's parlor tricks. But now you're like, okay, there's something more to it. There's definitely some mysticism going on. Mm-hmm. And I redact my previous statements about talking about how maybe there's only 5 faceless men. There has to be a bunch because you can't just kill off your own people like that to prove a point unless you have a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know? Or unless, I guess, you know, they're not actually dead.
Do you believe after everything that Arya, and this is the question I was going to, after everything Arya goes through to get accepted, to finally get to see the faces, to do all that training, that she would just let that all slip away for this vengeance?
I do. I think that Arya never wanted to be a faceless man from, like, the perspective of ideology. She just wanted, you know, she knew Jaqen, he helped her, she knew what he was capable of. She wanted that. She wanted the tool set. And then she was kind of, I don't even think she knew, hey, if I give you this coin, you'll take me to this place so I can become a thing. She just knew, if you ever need me, give this to any man from Bravo. So I don't even know if she knew that that's what would happen, and that's what she was agreeing to. And then she obviously gets there. She hides Needle away because she's not ready to give up Arya Stark. She's not here for the realm. She is a selfish character, not in a negative way, but she's got her own ambitions. And I think you could have just killed the guy you were supposed to kill and also achieved taking out Maren Trant, but I'll let it pass.
Interesting.
Opening up in the episode again, it was hard to talk yesterday. Stannis burning his daughter, and I don't know if you guys. I came up with this phrase last night when I was watching this. I think it's a really cool phrase. I'm going to start using it. Maybe it'll catch on. Karma's a bitch. and Melisandre, she's a bitch too.
So Karma's Melisandre.
Yeah, half of Stannis' men leave with all of the horses.
Right.
The snows do melt, but his wife also hangs herself. And then Stannis starts to set up a siege outside of Winterfell. Little does he know, here come the Boltons. And, he props to Stannis, I guess. He goes out, and we don't get to see much of it, but he's on the front lines, and somehow he makes it into the woods at one point.
That's
I was
bullshit.
wondering about all that.
Yeah.
But he survives, and he seems to be fighting okay. And Brienne of Tarth. Do they just not have a last name? Is Tarth special? You just Brienne. Maybe of Tarth is her last name. I don't know. She gets her revenge, gets to kill Stannis, which was my least favorite moment of the show. Not because I thought it was very deserved. I thought it rounded out Brienne's arc nicely. But the fact that it was an off-screen kill
Seemed weird, yeah.
seems weird. Like
he deserves it. He doesn't deserve that.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't. You think you'd kill him on screen and be done with it, or you do this, but then in the next episode you open to him dying, or you open to her saying that he's dead or something, this, that, and the other thing. It's not addressed for a long time, and it left this whole conspiracy that Stannis wasn't actually dead, but he is. He did.
Yeah, I don't get why they chose to do an off-screen for that. Especially like we talked about this before with other off-screen deaths and stuff, and it's the show's generally pretty brutal, so it's not like they're trying to change, trying to avoid having to make one episode a certain rating or not. I mean, they're absolutely capable of showing it. Maybe it's just that practical effects money they don't want to waste.
Well, I mean, maybe they used too much of it in this episode already. We had Drogon in there. We have Zombie Mountain. I'm imagining there's some absolute CG that went on there. There's the CG budget of putting Lena Headey's head on a different naked person.
Yeah, that's where the money went.
Yeah, and then also, what I thought was actually a very cool death, and I've never noticed this before. I mean, the situation is whatever. I don't care for her character, so it doesn't matter about the death. I like that she's dead. But it's pretty graphic, in a way, Miranda's death, where she just falls from the ramparts, and the camera just watches her. Nothing dramatic, just very realistically, just watches her as she falls all the way down, and her head whops against the rocks.
That was, whew. That was dork.
So that was kind of my whole worst part. I mean, I liked her dying, but Theon and Sansa, which we need to make up our decision.
Never.
But we can't. I don't know. Theon just annoys me now. At this point, he just is really dude, you're so flip-flop. We have no idea what you're going to do. Do you now decide to be her rescue? Because by killing Miranda, I like to throw that into Miranda. It's Miranda. By doing that, what's the end goal, right? She wasn't going to kill Sansa.
Well, I don't know what she was going to do. I did wonder, do you think that they were actually pointing a cocked bow at Sophie Turner? Because it looked like they were. If you were Miranda's actress, wouldn't you be terrified of that?
You have to keep in tension? That would suck.
Yeah, it's snowing, it's cold, your fingers go a little numb, you just let go and kill her?
There's no way that I didn't even think about that when I was watching it, but it did look like that when they panned back a bit to show the characters. But there's no way, right? They couldn't have done that. They must have done some sort of, some effect or to not. Who knows?
A blunted arrow and really low tension, so that. But I mean, whatever they did, it made it look pretty good. I suppose.
It's all foam. It's all foam.
Yeah, it's all foam. But yeah, so Miranda's dead. We get a few deaths. Stannis gone. We had. I think there's another big death, but I can't really remember. So I'm sure we'll come to that. But then Princess Myrcella also kicks the bucket. Well, first, stunning revelation. Myrcella is a smart little lady, and she knows all about her real daddy.
Her Uncle Daddy.
Her Uncle Daddy. Ooh, Uncle Daddy. That's the new kink.
And Jamie's like, me too.
She's into it.
Yeah.
Jamie had to probably think like, all right, going into the fact that he's going to have this conversation, he's like, whew, okay, well, best case scenario, she just goes, yeah, I know, I'm cool with it. And then we hug. Probably not going to happen, but like, okay. Worst case scenario, I don't know, I guess he fucking dies. And both of those things happen.
Rough up and down.
But I was wrong. I thought that, because when we were talking about the poison a while ago, and I said, oh, well, they get a ways out. No, it shows the ship still very, very close to Dorne. So they don't turn back. I mean, I guess if you're Jamie, you're like, well, these people just, you don't know who's involved. So don't go back or you're going to get killed maybe. But,
I think he would turn around.
I kind of think so too.
And be like, dude, you just murdered like the girl who you said I could take back. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Right. And then Trystane is coming with them, but he's not on that boat.
I know. What the fuck?
I'm very confused. He's a prince. Maybe he has his own prince boat, I suppose. The boat formerly known as Prince. I don't know, man. I don't know. Can't explain it.
Yeah, he gets wrecked.
Varys is back. Okay.
I forgot that he was back in this episode.
Varys is back. He's in Meereen. Tyrion and him have a little rekindling, and we don't get much with it, but it's nice to see him again.
Oh yeah.
And then moving down to my favorite part of the episode in King's Landing, Cersei makes her walk of atonement, which I understand that it's. I'm not going to fault the actress for like not actually doing the scene in its entirety. It's a very powerful scene. I think the emotion in this is great. I really get the sense that, like, naked or not, I kind of feel terrified in this moment. Like, just imagining putting myself in the perspective that they do with the castle, like the length of the walk ahead of her. Once the crowd starts getting super intense and super aggressive, it starts to close in. The camera starts to kind of pan down, and it feels very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Really, just a crazy great. Like, and it's long. It's like. I didn't clock it, but 5 minutes?
Yeah.
It's a long scene. And I thought it was done superbly.
Yeah, it was shot really well. Get some jugglies in there, too.
We do. We get a whole heck of a lot of Cersei and what I wrote down as parade disruptors. but I think you could probably come up with a better name for them. A couple penises. My favorite one, I think, is the man who walks in and goes, "Oh, my Lannister, suck me off." And then we get another guy who didn't have something clever to say, but also thought that he would just kind of stand in front and whip his wang out. A couple of these people get some pretty heavy, like, bludgeons going on.
Yeah. One chick, because the Faith Militant type people that are walking with Cersei, at first, are kind of just, and it escalates quickly, too, because at first they're just kind of pushing them aside, and the crowd's just going nuts and all that stuff, and they're just kind of containing them, and then all of a sudden, this one chick comes up, and the dude just friggin' slams her in the face with that stick or whatever. And I was like, whoa, escalated very quickly.
It's fucking brutal.
That chick probably died.
Then they rip some guy's arm off. Oh wait, no, that's a different. We get the I like it's just maybe a great episode for quotes because then we also get the woman who very classily announces, "I've had half as many cocks as a queen," which was nice. She does make it bloody and battered and weeping at the end. Again, super emotional. If you ever thought you'd feel bad for Cersei, I kind of had a little bit of that going on. We go back into the castle. Kevan is there again. And then Qyburn kind of takes care of the queen, and we get to see, I guess depending on if you're a book or a show fan, Sir Robert Strong, a.k.a. Zombie Mountain.
Zombie Mountain.
Bum, bum, bum. Who is terrifying looking, just big and engorged and purple.
And quiet.
Giggity. Yeah. Anything from King's Landing from you guys?
I bet so. This is where their money's at, right? Because that CG was pretty impressive.
Very well done, yeah.
Like, I did not know that was CG until I learned later.
And I did not resubstantiate that, but I am pretty sure it is not her.
It is not. No, I looked it up.
Okay, you looked
Not
it
her.
up.
Yep.
I think it is an actual person. It's not like they created a naked body.
No, right. So it's another person who did it, but they just had to obviously do a little face-off swap.
In those scenes, do they just make them wear like a green bust and mask kind of thing so they can do the face swap?
Probably. I don't know how they would do
that way
it.
they can just green screen and scale it.
Maybe.
It's probably like a. I bet it's not full body. I bet it's just the bits. That would probably be easier to do. That way you don't have to try and recreate every chest. I actually have no idea about the process. So again, this is us pulling things out of our ass to try and explain things that we're not qualified to talk about. The tagline for Thrones and Scones.
So, other question, just in general, before we get to the end of this episode here. Arya going blind, is this just because she disobeyed the faceless god or whatever?
That's kind of how they present it, is that it's like a punishment type thing, and it could be, but we're going to see in season 6 that it's continuing her training. Like, so is this regular practice? Not really sure.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because it seemed kind of abrupt. Also, the whole thing where she's like pulling the faces off the other guy and then sees herself, that was weird. Because the way we understand it now is that they have to have the face to use it, right? They can't just use any face. They have these faces that they've killed, which then they can utilize. But I'm assuming this was more of a vision thing. Like, I don't get how they would have had Arya's face.
That's my theory, especially with the going blind thing. We know that there's some sort of poison or something in the mask, or that they've slipped to her. I don't know. So that maybe this is more of like a fever dream type situation. But I don't know.
So I actually made a comment about that specific thing about the training because I would argue that Jaqen or the Faceless Men have always known that Arya is gonna assassinate the other guy, and that they're kind of watching her. And this is that reason, right? He knows the list, right? He's heard her list, and he's maybe then aware that by bringing that person there will allow for that training to continue to break her, which I think is a better story than her just going off, and them being ignorant of it in that sense.
Yeah. It would make sense. I mean, the fact that she just happened to be in the place that Meryn Trant arrived when he arrived, so that she knows he was there.
Yeah.
It's obviously a visit that would be known, and I mean, I'm sure grade A spies. So even if it wasn't a matter of royal record, which it is, that they probably could have figured that out. So I think that's a very good point. And you're probably right.
Because a blind punishment doesn't make sense. Death makes sense, right? Like, you fucked up, you killed the wrong person. We can't have that. We have an agreement to only kill those who we are paid to kill. And he makes that point of it, a life is a life, or you have 3 with the prior gifts and those things. So I don't know. I was thinking about that. I still like that idea. And this is, like I said, this is the final episode in the season, and it was good to get back to enjoying that story a little bit.
Lots of busy episode. Just before we get gone, there's also Mutiny at Castle Black and John dies. But other than that, nothing really.
Did that happen?
Nothing much happens. Oh shit! Wait, there's a mutiny at Castle Black and John dies. This is the one. This is the one time I think I appreciate the previously on, because they do all this stuff with Benjen Stark, and it's so obvious. You're like, okay, I guess we're gonna see Benjen Stark in this episode. And then when you go watch it the first time, they're like, we found your Uncle Benjen, and I'm like, yeah, fucking called that. And then you don't see him, and they just kill John. Like, shit. Did you see it, Hans, the first time you watched it? Do you see that coming?
No, not at all. I think this scene for me in this episode, this is my favorite part and least favorite part. Because I remember the first time I watched it, I had no idea what the future held for this show or anything, or what the plan was. And I was like, what the fuck? Because he was like the last one. And they built the show so much that you believed that he was going to stay dead, or like potentially believed he was going to stay dead, because, they did this with Robb Stark. They get you liking all these characters, and then they just kill him. And they hadn't for a while, I felt. Yeah. So I remember specifically being very pissed at this scene. And then it's the season finale too. Oh, what dirtbags.
You have to wait a year. I remember all of the theories coming out of this. Like I had a friend who was super, super, super into all the conspiracy theories about John, because this is where the book ends as well. Yeah. No one knew what was happening after this. And so she had the thing where she's like, do you see the blood stain? It looks like a dragon. I'm like, okay. And she's like, and you see this one frame where his eyes go like purple, and in the books, the Targaryen's eyes are purple. I'm like, okay. She's like, so he's going to come back a Targaryen. And I'm like, okay, I understand the Jon Targaryen theory, and I understand what you're coming from and maybe what they're trying to go for with the imagery, but Targaryens do not just get to rise from the dead. Like, that is not a family trait that they possess.
Yeah, I think the biggest giveaway here was just Melisandre being at Castle Black at that time would be, I guess, not giveaway, but the biggest like fuel to the fire of the fan theories there.
I will say that yes, because it's, and again, going back and watching it the second time with that conversation Ollie has with Sam, it is kind of telegraphed. Once you know what's happening, you're like, sure. Oh yeah, you can piece it together pretty easily. I respect the fact that they do not do anything with Jon. As far as like trying to work around his death in episode 1 of season 6. Like,
I like that.
They fortify, they deal with the fact that, people loyal to him are going to have to figure out what the hell to do. But like, that's it. So yeah, for what seems like could be a very obvious plot hook, they did their patient thing. They took their time. I respected it.
Surprised they don't set him on fire almost immediately. Because that's the thing they should be doing, yes! Right? Like, everyone knows you burn the dead. Like, nothing has changed.
They're like, yeah, how could this get us in trouble? Well, probably not unless we just left the body in the same place. But that's what I was thinking of doing.
Yes.
Don't know. Anything else from episode 10 here, y'all?
No, I don't have anything.
Well, then I didn't even tease it out at the beginning of the episode because I was just due to me, we're recording a little late. We're rushing a bit, and I apologize for that. But Jeremy, I gots to know what that lemon scone do.
Oh my God, lemon scone! As a fan of lemon, pretty much anything, this had no lemon pieces in it, so none of the what is it known as, like the peel, but that's not called that. Anyway, it is delicious. It is buttery. It is a scone.
I think I'm gonna make a lemon scone at some point. That's just like, because I've seen like the ones that are made from lemon zest.
Yeah,
I've
zest.
seen like ones that are flavored with lemon juice. Ones that are maybe both. I've never seen a scone that's been attempted to be flavored with exclusively lemon seeds. And so I think I'm going to attempt that next. I'll let you guys know how it goes.
But anyway, I got some lemon curd from Dorothy Lane. I ate it with it. It was
lemon curd. Hold on, that's thrownscones.com. You down with GOT?
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah, you know me.
You put lemon curd on a lemon scone?
Yeah, Okay, so it wasn't super like lemony. It just was like kind of like a mild. To be honest, it tasted like a regular scone to me. I didn't get a lot of lemon flavor, so I got this lemon curd at Dorothy Lane a while ago. It's really really good. It's really tart. Holy shit! Elevated that scone to like one of the best things I've ever had.
I respect the lemon curd in that it's a very powerful thing. You know, a little goes a long way.
Right.
I just don't think I'd think of. I usually use it as a counterbalance to stuff. Now, I wouldn't think of putting it on a lemon thing, but maybe I'll give it a whirl.
Hey, I was in for lemon.
I want to do, since I've been making a lot of scones because I've basically run out here in town, as we knew would happen. I wanted to do like a traditional British scone, which again is just more, not necessarily flavored with much, not super sweet, pretty dry, biscuity, but they always serve them with like jam and clotted cream, which has to be the most disgusting sounding food in the world.
Wouldn't that just be like stale or old milk?
I'm gonna look up what it is exactly because I don't actually know. But clotted is not something I want to consume.
Dude, that makes me think of this. Like, there's restaurants that you can get like a blood pudding. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've had blood pudding.
You have?
Yeah.
Is it just say it's like you're eating iron?
Well, I had it in a very limited sense. It does have like a kind of an irony. It was just like a little bit on a cruise, I think.
So it's not dessert then. It must be more like a savory
No, it's
thing?
a savory thing. It's like a sausage. They make a sausage out of it. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
It was. I wouldn't like reach for it. It was okay. According to the internet, by the way, clotted cream is a thick cream made by indirectly heating full cream cow's milk using steam and leaving it in pans to cool slowly. The cream content rises to the surface and forms clots.
Curdles, we call that.
Yeah. Like, yeah, kind of curdly, I guess. So it kind of looks like a weird, like, chunky butter thing. So, again, nothing about it turns me off necessarily, except the stupid-ass name. Come up with something better. Call it, like, Her Majesty's Royal Cream or something. I'll put that on my scone.
When they make cheese and things like that, they heat it up, right? They heat it and then they are constantly churning it, correct? Similar to butter, I'm assuming.
All of those similar products just raise the question of who the fuck came up with this?
Yeah.
How did you? Who decided to do this?
A lot of that's what I've been noticing too. I forgot what recipe I was looking up the other day, but it was one of those like traditional type foods that get passed down, and it's like like these heritage foods. And then I looked at the recipe. Oh, God, I wish I could think of what it was. And the cook time was like 48 hours. Like, and I was like, people had too much time on their hands back then.
Like bolognese?
Get a TV. Am I right?
My God, yeah, the sauces are crazy.
Yeah, some of the bolognese sauces, like recipes, I've seen like 18, 28 hours, like stupid amount of time. And I'm like, how do you leave something on an open flame that long? I would never do that.
And don't think that you can sidestep it with a crock pot, because then you'll find a quote-unquote easy chicken mole recipe and end up with 3 tons of chicken mole in your freezer that tastes like shit. You've been warned.